Well, let's move on. If you like what the UK column is doing as a free media channel, then please support us. Of course, you can make a donation, or you can take out a monthly membership or an annual membership or a lifetime membership. You can also purchase from our shop. And of course, we always like to say that we make a small percentage from products, health products from Clive to Carl. Now, the key bit about what we do is information to be shared. So please share the information we put out. Do give us a mention as you do that, please. We are still on other platforms. We have a presence on YouTube at the moment, so that's good. Now, the conference at the weekend, this is going to be a really fantastic conference. The first thing to say is that we have a handful of tickets left. Those tickets will only be available till 5 o'clock this evening, and then they're gone. So if you've been thinking, do I or don't I, we would say to you, please come and join us, because it's going to be a really fun and very special event. And there is enough time for you to be mixing and chatting with all the speakers and the UK column team. And of course, it's in Cheltenham, really in the belly of the beast. So 5 o'clock, and those tickets are gone. If you've been thinking I should go, now's the time to buy the ticket. Get onto the UK column website. And we are going to be live streaming, which is going to be good for many people who can't get there. But at the end of the day, if you're there to really experience the event. So both options available, but those tickets still available. Now, where does that take us? Well, it takes us to other people who are active. And Diane, this conference is coming up. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, Brian, this conference is called What's Wrong with Sex Education? All Children, All Ages, All Schools. It will be in Lisburn in Northern Ireland in just a few days, on the 7th of April. So that's just right after the conference, actually. The interesting thing about this to note, which I heard Mike say on Friday, is that Lisburn is Mike Robinson's hometown. So if you've ever wanted to see where Mike Robinson is from, then you should also go to the conference. We don't know everything about the conference, but what I do know is that it's been promoted by Hugh McCarthy, who I've been working with recently. We had an interview with him last week on sexualization and indoctrination in schools in Northern Ireland. And he's really informed on this topic, and he's also writing a 3-part series of articles for us. So parts 1 and 2 are already out in writing, and part 3 will be published next week. There's a number of things that are important about this conference, including the fact that they will be talking about the specific rights that parents have in Northern Ireland, about their children can experience through the curriculum or not, which is unique to Northern Ireland. We don't have it in the rest of the devolved nations. So definitely other people getting out there and doing things, and it's good to see that happening.
Okay, Diane, thank you very much for that. And also, interview going out at 1 o'clock tomorrow is with Catherine Austin-Fitz. Of course, Catherine done a huge amount of work on all sorts of subjects around the deep state and essentially what is coming into place around the rules-based international order. So very, very knowledgeable lady, and I'm sure that's going to be a really great interview. Diane, I think it comes back to you and the terrible subject of smart meters, or maybe not so smart meters.
No, unfortunately, it looks like they're pretty stupid, actually, Brian. A viewer wrote in a few days ago to ask why we haven't covered smart meters on UK Column, and we have. If you search ukcolumn.org, there's been a variety of written and video reports related to smart meters. But I think because there's so much going on, it's worth some updates, and I did some deeper research as well. So the first thing to note is that the energy price cap is going up tomorrow, the 1st of April. According to the BBC, the annual bill for a household using a typical amount of gas and electricity will go up to £1,849 per year, which is an increase of £111. The energy price cap sets the maximum amount customers can be charged for each unit of energy, but actual bills depend on how much you actually use. So that's just for people who might not be in the UK, so that you understand what's happening. So OfGem, which is the electricity and gas regulator in the UK, and the BBC, they're all telling us in the UK that the way to save money on your energy bills is to make sure that we are complying with their demands to have a smart meter installed in our homes, and then everything will be better. However, there are a lot of problems going on with smart meters. They are meant to, of course, send gas and electricity consumption data to the suppliers and display it to the consumers. So there's a back and forth, which is supposed to promote the consumers to help them track their energy usage and cut their use. However, smart meters were, first of all, mandated by Ed Miliband back in 2008 when he first held the post of Energy Secretary. So they've been rolling these out for 17 years, but the whole time has been full of technical failures, reluctance to adopt them by people in their houses. Just very recent reports in the last few days. For example, the East Anglian Daily Times said that certain electricity smart meters have been recalled. There's information about the recall on the UK.gov website. They've been recalled because they present a risk of fire or electric shocks. And so there is information there. Please take a look at our website on the show notes to make sure that you do not have one of these in your house. And if you do, get it out right away. The Telegraph said on Friday that millions of households could be lined up for payouts from their energy supplier for faulty smart meters under rules set under by the energy regulator, which is OfGem, which I will come back to in just a minute. If you have a broken smart meter in your house and it's not fixed within 90 days, you will soon be able to claim £40 compensation from the supplier, according to OfGem. The change means that millions may soon be able to claim because there's a lot of people having these problems. And official figures are saying that this might be up to 3.5 million smart meters have so-called gone dumb, and that's the words, because they have lost their ability to send the usage information back and forth between the suppliers and the consumers. So with that many, there might be a long wait for your £40 if you have a faulty smart meter. So back in January, the BBC sent out a warning to people who have an older type of meter and saying that they will need to replace it with a smart meter. So let's watch this clip from January.
What do we need to do then?
Yes, this is a warning from the regulator OfGem telling people with a certain type of old meter. I should stress it's not all old meters, but certain types of old meters. If they have one of those in particular, they need to get in touch with their supplier and switch before June. Let me explain the details for you. Yes, this is all about older meters that look like these. In particular, if you're on a tariff like Economy 7, Economy 10, or others that have different rates at various times of the day. They run using something called the radio teleswitch service. It's basically a signal that's broadcast to energy firms, and it allows these meters to switch between peak and off-peak rates or turn your heating or hot water on and off. But the equipment is old and it's hard to maintain. So the signal is being switched off. This was originally meant to happen last March, but that deadline has now been extended to this June. The thing is, there are still 600,000 households and businesses using these old meters. And the message is you need to switch before June or you risk losing your heating and hot water.
So if you don't switch your meter, you're not going to live very long. It doesn't sound that way. So it's really interesting and important to look at how these actually are working in the background. So OfGem has explained on their website that the Data Communications Company, or DCC, is a monopoly company. They admit that it's a monopoly. It operates under the Smart Meter Communications License, which is regulated by OfGem. DCC is part of Capita, which is an international business process outsourcing company based in London, so public-private partnership again. The DCC is responsible for linking smart meters in homes and small businesses with energy suppliers, network operators, and energy service companies. According to OfGem, DCC is needed to ensure that the smart meters system as a whole works smoothly and that the enduring and full benefits of smart meters are realized. So how exactly does this work? Here's a clip from the DCC's website explaining it for us.
A year. The network operates to the highest security standards in Europe. It's endorsed by the National Cyber Security Centre, part of GCHQ, and operates entirely separately from the potential pitfalls of the public internet. So how does it work? Every time energy is used or generated in homes with smart meters, they turn it into a packet of data. The data's securely wrapped using 2 layers of encryption. A communications hub creates a home area network to receive the data from the smart meters. The hub transmits the data to an in-home display, which shows how much energy is being used or sold back to the grid. The data is then transmitted from the home to a wide area network of mobile phone or radio masts, and from these to the DCC's servers. The DCC never sees or keeps the data. It transports it securely straight to energy suppliers to access. They decrypt it so they can bill consumers accurately. The detailed consumption data also helps the whole system make the best use of energy, keeping the lights on and supporting Britain's net zero goals.
Diane,
Sorry, Brian, Ben. I saw you holding your head.
Diane, I got to say, all I wanted was a cup of tea, but apparently I got to send my meter back and I've got to contact GCHQ in order to understand the digital transfer in order to boil the kettle. This is utter madness on the nation.
Absolutely, it is. And so I guess we can, I don't know if you want to stage a protest over the weekend, we can do that. That will be convenient. But I have some more details from the government to show you exactly what's going on in the background. They just recently updated its policy report, which is called Clean Power 2030 Action Plan, a new era of clean electricity. It said that something called market-wide half-hourly settlements is a key enabler for the retail market, making its timely delivery critical for the 2030 target. This is led by OfGem. It will change the landscape because consumers will be able to take advantage of the system to get lower bills. And additionally, the smart meter rollout is critical for unlocking the innovative approaches to managing demand and will enable this successful delivery, whatever this means. It also said that the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero, so that's Ed Miliband again, is working with OfGem to guarantee new standards of performance relating to smart meters this year. This may include standards relating to installation and maintenance, compensation, so going back to some of what I addressed earlier, actions to remove barriers to smart meter adoption. They admit in the report that this will require a lot of infrastructure in the next few years, and almost all of it will be provided by private companies. They also said, however, they were optimistic it will work out because, direct quote, the work of the vaccines task force during the pandemic demonstrated what can be achieved when tight focus, strong direction, and full collaboration come together. So last week, there were messages coming out on OfGem through X. On Friday, for example, they said, we are proposing faster smart meter installations and better compensation for inactivity issues. New rules could mean quicker appointments and swift fixes for reported problems. These proposed new rules include shorter wait time for installation, compensation for failed installation, quicker fixes if a customer has a problem. So, these are things that they're saying will be part of the proposal. Now, going back to 2019, looking at the cost-benefit analysis smart meter rollout, which is coming from the Department for Business, Energy, Industrial Strategy, we can see here on this figure that was taken from the report that the smart meter program is literally costing us, the British taxpayers, billions of pounds, actually. This report said, however, that the smart meters will unlock a smarter and more flexible energy system for homes and businesses across Britain and provide a key contribution to the aims of the government to reduce carbon emissions to net zero by 2050. They will also play an increasingly important role beyond the end of the appraisal period. For example, the Committee on Climate Change estimates that without this flexibility, where smart meters are a key part of delivering the flexible energy system in net zero, the cost of reaching net zero by 2050 would be up to $16 billion per annum higher. They need to make sure that we're going to buy in this. So not to worry, there's a way that they're handling this. There is an organization for that called Smart Energy GB. Smart Energy GB is a nonprofit that is there to help us, the apparently stupid British public who won't buy the smart meters, according to those who want us to have them, to understand why smart meters are such a benefit to us and to the country. Now, going back to 2016, they had a report called A Smart Route to Change, the application of behavioral science in supporting Great Britain's smart meter rollout and changing the way we use energy for the better. I had to go back to the Wayback Machine to find this, and I had originally found it linked by an article that Martin Edwards wrote in 2020 in a UK column article called Behavioural Insights, the second team leading the UK government's COVID-19 response. The report says that Smart Energy DB was established in 2013, and this plan established the central place that behavioral science holds at the heart of Smart Energy GB's approach and the campaign that we have developed and are executing as the voice of the smart meter rollout. It said that they are tackling the task of changing human behavior, especially in these situations where there's a careful balance to be struck between individual autonomy and public good, and even controversy as to what is or is not in the interest of community and society as a whole. It cited research that found that 80% of people who already have a smart meter have taken at least one step to change something about their energy use. So that's good news for them, apparently. They reviewed a few different approaches to behavioral change, including one that was actually originally written by Professor Susan Mitchie. Where do we know that name from before? Which she was involved in developing. But then they decided on a different one called Mindspace, which, Brian, you've been covering since 2020, which they said was finally the best approach to changing behavior related to smart meters. So the slide from the approach that talks about applying Mindspace, it's called a SMART approach, where, taking the different steps through how people might potentially work to adapt these smart meters, what to do. There's different ways to use Mindspace that they suggested. One was called Messenger, which involves children. Once a term, there is dedicated school time where children learn about the importance of smart meters and conserving energy through specially designed resources. They will be given a take-home pack of practical hints and tips to encourage them to put what they've learned into practice at home and get the rest of the family involved. Another one is called Incentive, which is basically every home that has a smart meter, you get put into a prize draw. So that's really exciting. So you get a smart meter, your house might blow up from the smart meter, but you might win a prize. Maybe you'll get a bottle of wine. It'd be great. So very exciting. Their 2025 consumer engagement plan and budget says that their budget is £38.3 million to spend on applied behavioral psychology. And it's to make sure that we comply with these demands to use smart meters. So we talked about rewards, energy flexibility, reassurance campaigns to basically say that they don't believe anything that consumers might believe. And they've got 13 reasons why we should get smart meters, which include all of these things about tackling climate change, reducing your impact on the environment, reducing Britain's dependency on energy from overseas, and so on. But of course, ultimately, this really does go back to Agenda 2030, Sustainable Development Goals, Clean Energy Plan. We have an article here that was, this was actually a presentation that was given at the UN by an academic a few years ago in 2018, and she basically said SDG 7, that's the one about energy, is an enabling factor for sustainable development. She said that in particular, this can enable several different SDGs, 6, 8, 9, 11, 12, and 13, if that means anything to anybody. And we can see she believes that implementing Agenda 2030 will be helped by encouraging people to be more energy independent, because, of course, the smart meters will make us obsess over energy use. And we also see from the World Economic Forum from January 2020, there's a report called The Impact of 5G, Creating New Value Across Industries and Society. It discussed the fourth industrial revolution, said that 5G will be critical to enable unprecedented levels of connectivity, upgrading 4G networks with functional drivers, and this all includes smart meters, the smart grid, smart energy management, smart street lighting, electric vehicles, and finally, drone monitoring capabilities. So I guess the drones will make sure that we've got our smart meters, and then what happens from there, we don't know. But that's what's going on, Brian.
I'll just pause for 20 seconds because, of course, you're describing more madness. 600,000 duff meters in place, but apparently they're going to change them all by June. I don't think so. And what is all this about? Well, of course, it's those sustainable development goals, which are clearly evident that they're unsustainable. But we'll do more on this in due course, because understanding what's being done is the key to stopping it, along with saying, no, we don't want this junk in our homes. Let's move at the end of the news, Ben.